I beg to move that this House is considered commemorating the Battle of Britain.
Thank you for chairing the debate, Sir Desmond. It's an honour to serve under your chairship. I'd like to thank all of those who will contribute to this debate and to the Veterans Minister, whose presence is always greatly appreciated. 1940, the 6-week Battle of France had seen British soldiers, including those of the Gloucestershire Regiment, fighting side by side with Belgian, Dutch, French and Polish soldiers against the advancing Nazis. Eventually pushed back to the edge of the Western Front, to the beaches at Dunkirk, British troops were evacuated alongside their valiant but defeated allies to Britain over 10 days to the 4th of June. With France lost to the Nazis, Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill declared on the 18th of June 1940, "The Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin." He continued, "The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned on us. Hitler knows he will have to break us in this island or lose the war." Within weeks, this very hall had been struck by German bombs, as had Elizabeth Tower and the House of Lords. The House of Commons lay in ruin. Over almost 4 months of the Battle of Britain, this island suffered sustained bombardment as the Nazis, through the Luftwaffe, desperately and in vain tried to destroy the Royal Air Force and break British morale. They failed, and the Battle of Britain stands proudly alongside the battles of Trafalgar and Waterloo amongst our greatest military successes. But it is also so much more. Every day across these isles, the legacy of the Battle of Britain is lived. Modern culture, and to a significant degree, our national identity has been built upon it. One toils to resolve a single other historic snapshot which so well encapsulates the British mindset. I'd be delighted to. Thank you.
I thank the honourable member for giving me and congratulate him on this debate and his magnificent introduction, which I'm sure he spent some time preparing, but it is a tremendous introduction. Yeah. Would he agree with me that what he's outlining now, and what I think we all have to commit ourselves to, is not just that our generation remembers the tremendous sacrifice that was made all those years ago, but that the current generation coming into existence, those born in the past 25 years, also remember, so that we never repeat any mistakes of the past and achieve victories of the past, such as the one he's outlining.
I thank him for his intervention, and he speaks acutely to the point. The point of this debate being that we must not forget what this country both suffered and achieved, and that we must support our current generation in the challenges they face. One toils to resolve any other historic snapshot which so well encapsulates the British mindset. The gradual withdrawal of liberty across Western Europe before, on this small outpost, those forces came together for Europe's final stand. British, Belgian, Czechoslovakian, French, Irish, Polish, Commonwealth, even a handful of Americans, to halt the fascist advance in its tracks and set the stage to push the Nazis back across Europe. The iconic airframes of the Battle of Britain memorial flight remain the most celebrated flypast at air shows and ceremonies throughout the year. I love a Eurofighter Typhoon as much as anybody, but respectfully, I'm really waiting to hear the Hurricane, Lancaster and Spitfire. I recall waiting for Iron Maiden to take the stage at Download. I recall waiting for Iron Maiden to take the stage at Download Festival in 2013, when the audience roared for a Spitfire fly past which Bruce Dickinson had squared away through his friends at the BBMF. Even at a festival where I'd seen Motorhead and Queens of the Stone Age for the first time, the Spitfire remains the standout memory. Though, through those historic exploits of the Royal Air Force, air power is today one of Britain's most recognised and celebrated brands. On the shoulders of the Hurricane and Spitfire, the Hawks of the Red Arrows spearhead British soft power across the globe, not just a display team, but a diplomatic force all of their own. I put it to this House that in commemorating the Battle of Britain, the greatest tribute we can pay to its victors is to apply those lessons which can be learned from it. The stage is already set. As they did following the interwar years of the 1920s and 30s, once more our armed forces, following years of diminishment, faced the likelihood of a kinetic war against a battle-hardened and well-resourced aggressor. By July 1940, though, despite popular belief to the contrary, the RAF had ramped up its production to such an extent that RAF Fighter Command was more than a match for the Luftwaffe and held a minor numerical advantage. I hope you will.
Thanks very much. Thank you much to the Honourable Member for giving way. I think the point he's making is a very powerful one about the preparedness of the RAF. That was much more than perhaps was seen by the public. Will he join me in paying tribute to the Hurricane pilots of 602 and 603 Squadron, cities of Edinburgh and City and Glasgow, who actually conducted the first interception of World War II over the Firth of Forth, which borders my constituency, when Juncker's 88 aircraft sought to attack HMS Hood in the Forth. That resulting action saw the death of 16 civilians on the ground, as well as the 3 German aircrew, but nonetheless showed how prepared the RAF was, even at that early stage of the conflict.
Cameron Thomas, I thank you for his intervention. He's an excellent
Ambassador for his constituency and its heritage, and we should absolutely celebrate the achievement of those brave pilots and the nation which supported them. I would like to direct a question at the Minister on the point of preparedness. If the Russian war in Ukraine breaks out into Europe within 5 years, will the RAF be so well equipped? If we strip away some of the folklore which has been built upon the Battle of Britain, the fact is that a British victory was almost inevitable. Crucial to the outcome was the chain-home radar and the Dowding system within which it operated, delivering early detection of Luftwaffe aircraft to Sir Hugh Dowding's Fighter Command. 3 factors ensured the resilience and continuing serviceability of that Dowding system: redundancy, misdirection, and interconnectivity. Thanks to that Dowding system, Luftwaffe would routinely reach Britain with just enough fuel remaining for a few minutes flight time, only to be met every time by Fighter Command, which had seen them coming 100 miles from the coast. Numbers, formations, and direction. Furthermore, every Luftwaffe pilot or crew shot down over Britain became a casualty or a prisoner. Every RAF pilot downed simply knocked on the nearest front door and returned to circulation. The picture from the Führer bunker in Berlin, now under a nondescript car park on which I have proudly scuffed my shoes, was hopeless. I've too often seen Hitler unduly recognised as a strong leader. He was anything but. He was superstitious, paranoid, vengeful, and feared by his own officers, who were afraid to report their losses upward. His war in Europe was ultimately doomed by his own leadership, and that of his cabinet comprised obsequious pleasers and party loyalists. The Nazis could never have won on or over British soil. Churchill knew it, as would have any rational leader. But that inevitability of British victory takes nothing away from the exploits of our courageous aircrew, the genius of our code breakers, nor the resilience of the British people. What was achieved was a heroic, decisive, national victory of liberty over fascism, and it needs no exaggeration. Britain's victory is best commemorated with due recognition for the contributions of over 500 foreign pilots under Sir Hugh Dowding's Fighter Command. In fact, it evidences my assertion that Britain is at its best not standing alone, but when it leads in Europe, and that Europe is strongest with Britain at its centre. I will shortly conclude, but I would like... I hope you will.
I'm very grateful indeed to the Honourable Gentleman for bringing this debate to the Chamber, and it's well known that on the 16th of August 1940, the only Victoria Cross to be awarded to a fighter pilot in World War II was awarded to James Brindley Nicholson for re-entering a burning plane to shoot down an enemy bomber near Southampton. What's not so well known was that one of the British casualties in the same action was the youngest pilot to die in the Battle of Britain, and his name was Martin Orrell King. And to mark the 85th anniversary of his death heroically in that action, as someone 2 months short of his 19th birthday, a memorial service was held at Fawley Church in New Forest East, where he lies buried with honour amongst several of his comrades.
What a wonderful intervention. I'm glad that he made it, and we must never take for granted the sacrifice that so many made so that we may today live in peace. I would just like to contextualise the Battle of Britain alongside Britain's near future. Sir Desmond, today in 2025, we understand with absolute certainty that the Geneva Convention will not be adhered to by the Russian military, nor by its unbadged operators of the hybrid war it has been conducting against our country for over a decade. I remind the House that Putin deployed a chemical weapon on the streets of Salisbury. We must not blind ourselves to the significant likelihood that this hybrid war will go kinetic within the coming decade. To our adversary, civil infrastructure will be viewed as a viable target. In Ukraine, Russia has deliberately and consistently targeted energy infrastructure in a bid to break Ukrainian morale and undermine its ability to replenish its armaments. The Russians have failed to recognise a lesson learned by Hitler in 1940, that trying to bomb a population into submission only strengthens its resolve. Nevertheless, Britain must be ready to face such tactics in the near future. Just as redundancy ensured the resilience of the Dowding system, Britain can build redundancy into its energy infrastructure and its industrial capacity by increasing our own production of renewables and ramping up installation of that technology to reduce reliance upon the national grid. The introduction of peer-to-peer energy sharing within localities would be a game changer for UK energy resilience, public services and for bill payers. Once more, Sir Desmond, I thank you, and I look forward to welcoming the contributions of members from across this House.